Alright, hello guys, and welcome to another one of my tutorial videos. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I felt like I was long overdue. This one's going to be over one that I feel like I should have done a long time ago, actually, because I talk about this topic a lot in my videos, and my podcasts, and like lectures, and when people ask me questions about writing, but never actually got around to like thoroughly explaining what I mean by it. And that term would be called the Mundane Act. It's a term that I came up with to describe small things that you do in video games that don't seem to have a huge impact on things like plot or game mechanics or combat or anything like that. And essentially, what a mundane act is doing something very, very small that helps the player relate to whatever the character is doing or whoever they are. The mundane act can be things like doing laundry, getting groceries, looking at yourself in the mirror, brushing your teeth, doing a small chore, going to work, something like that. And like I feel like the mundane act, and I talk about this often, is one of the most important things in video gaming, especially when it comes to narrative. But however, it's heavily disregarded and often ignored. A lot of video games don't do it, just don't see the point in doing it, because when it comes to making money or being in AAA business, it feels like the audience just kind of wants to shoot things or punch things, and that they feel like the audience doesn't really care about things like the mundane act. However, the mundane act is actually quite a powerful tool, and if used earlier on in video games, would instantaneously connect the player to the character and to the plot, and makes it easier for them to relate to the character and the plot without using a lot of excess resources in order to make, let's say, a big moment feel bigger. Some examples of this would be The Walking Dead. This is a great example, actually. Walking Dead Season 1 from Telltale Games. There's a lot of mundane acts. Like in, I think the first scene, you're sitting in a car having a conversation with the person that has arrested you. And this seems like it may not be a mundane act because not a whole lot of people get arrested, but the act of sitting in a car and talking to someone is mundane. And so it was a pretty useful tool in order for you to get to relate to Lee very early on in the game. There's other mundane acts, such as being in the backyard of Clementine's house and looking at her tree house. That's a very mundane act. Or going into her house and looking at her kitchen. Or later on, there's like a puzzle where you have to help at a farm, and those mundane acts makes the well, I don't want to spoil it, but the people at the house feel normal before they reveal themselves as being maybe not so quite normal. Other mundane acts are things like Indigo Prophecy and Heavy Rain. David Cage is very good about doing the mundane acts. Some people may complain, and I even partly complain, that maybe he does too much of the mundane acts. But I didn't quite mind it, especially when it was at the beginning of the game, because if the game was written a little bit better and written less like it's supposed to be a movie, which kind of is a pet peeve of mine, when he does mundane acts like go get groceries like at the beginning of the game or go play with his children, suddenly the very extreme, like horrific acts that happen later in the game, it's a nice contrast to it to make you feel like this is even worse than it possibly could be. And so, like, you might think, well, what if some games like don't need a mundane act, like super hot? And that's something I think about, because it's like, well, you can't really put it in something like that, like a strictly combat game. But then I know at the beginning of Super Hot, I haven't quite played Super Hot, but I think at the beginning of it, you are, like, as the player, going on a computer. And so I wonder if, like, maybe you could put the mundane act with the computer, and how that would, like, maybe change it to make, like, change the meaning of the game. Then again, it really doesn't have to put in there because Super Hot is so abstract. But you know, it's something like interesting to think about, especially when it comes to your games. How do you like, what small thing could you put in to just make it even more relatable than it already is? And I try to put this in my own stuff, but it's hard to do because a lot of people make it seem like and make it feel like it's not vital at all, but it in fact is. Like Gone Home is the most known for like doing the most of the mundane acts, You're just picking up things and you're carrying around things, and that's pretty much the whole game. But it's by far the most relatable game I think a lot of people played. Along with The Last of Us, it's like at the beginning, you're walking around a house trying to find your dad, and that is a mundane act of what you're trying to do. It didn't make the horror again when the apocalypse happens. It makes the horrors of the apocalypse feel even more extreme than it would originally, because you're like, well, I was just looking around this house like moments before. So yeah, another like tidbit that to think about, like, when you start creating your things. And I hope you guys like this tutorial. I'll try to make, not really a tutorial, it's more like just an explanation video. But I hope you guys like it. Hopefully I can come back and do some more of these. I've just been really busy. But if you like it, give the video a like, or whatever, and I'll see you guys later on another tutorial. Hello guys, if you like this video, please consider checking out my game Vacant. It's free right now off of itch.io in early access. I would really love to hear you guys' feedback and comments and all that jazz. The link will be in the description if you want to see more.